Hey guys, how are we all doing out there in crypto world? Just wanted to make this quick video just to explain a little bit of what I'm seeing in the market right now. Bitcoin, we just had a really nice rally, up about 40% in a month, which was great. If you've been following on Facebook or on the Discord, we started longing from the very, very bottom. We caught, my original first entry was about 6,420, I think, was my first long, and then it was a bit stale over Christmas. Then we ended up trading some really nice positions over the last month, so it's been going really well. Altcoins have had a little bit of love as well, especially the USD pairs, and at the moment I'm just looking at ADA because it's had a little bit of a run up today. It's looking pretty good. We're getting some nice higher lows on the closes with a couple of wicks down and just tagging a really solid level right at that 400, which seems to be iron level of support right now. As you can see, we've had 4 closes down here, or 4 tags of this 400 level. And if we come down there, I think it'll probably be a really nice level to buy from again, but it's not going to hold forever until eventually we break down. So what to look for at the moment, and what I'm seeing right now on ADA is this is looking a lot like a Wyckoff accumulation pattern, right? So we can look back here, and we had this huge inverse head and shoulders, which took about 6 months to play out and form that bottom pattern, and then we ended up getting a really nice rally off that and traded this one quite nicely for about 60%. And now we're sort of putting in another bottom pattern, which has gone for a similar amount of time. It's about 160 days. What was this one to break out? 195. So, it might come back down one more time. They don't have to go for the same amount of time, but definitely it's around that same sort of period. That is for sure, around the 170 sort of space, right? So what I'm looking for right now is we've obviously had this big downtrend. This is what we call our preliminary support, right? Which is called a PS, right? Preliminary support. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to draw in all the Wyckoff names for every push and pull, but this is our preliminary support. Then we've got our selling climax down here. We sort of have, a couple of second tests here, right? So this would be second test 1, second test in phase B. And generally what we would see, and this is what we traded on Litecoin just the other day, was a spring where it comes down like this and then reclaims the range and takes off, and we buy at this level here, right? We'll jump across the Litecoin quickly and I'll show you that chart. Right, so we're sort of in this Wyckoff pattern throughout here, and there's also another type of pattern as well, which is looking like a broadening descending wedge, similar to how this sort of played out. So watching that as well. And at the moment, I'm actually looking to short Litecoin, but we'll come back to that a bit later. And what we're looking at here is this sort of, obviously this is our preliminary support, right, which ends up flipping into resistance. Come down, make our selling climax, second test phase B, and then this is our spring action in the Wyckoff accumulation pattern, and then we break back into the range, and then this is a really easy long from here, and we end up getting around 14-15% off that trade. So it was pretty nice. I'm actually expecting this to come back down now on lower time frames. When we just zoom in quickly, it is looking a fair bit like a bit of a top, a bit of a head and shoulders top. So I'm expecting this to come back down. My target for this one is about 5965. Right, so we're looking for T1 down here and T2 back here, right? But there is also a very high chance we'll come back down and tag the bottom of this range here. And we'll see if this ends up being a bear flag and breaks down, or seeing if it ends up breaking out. Because this could reject the head and shoulders here and climb back above this level and bounce off here, or bounce off the trend line. And I think either of these two would be pretty nice levels. So we're going to be watching for that as well, and looking for a bit of a breakout on Litecoin. But it very easily can just end up painting this head and shoulders here, right? That'd be confirmation, shorting the retest. So 2 areas to short on head and shoulders patterns is the right shoulder here, and then the retest here. Or you can also get the breakout as well, but I'm not the biggest fan trying to catch breakouts. I prefer to get the shoulder or the retest, or you can get both as well to improve your entry. So yeah. That's what I'm looking for at the moment on Litecoin, and just wanted to touch on how that ended up playing out. And we had that spring pattern, right? So the spring pattern through here, and usually after a spring pattern, you come through and eventually you break out and you make sort of that SOS pattern, which is our sign of strength. It goes sideways, right? So for that, we're probably wanting to see it get above, this 7/8 level, and we have, a sign of strength up here, which would be a bull flag. So we're going to be having a pretty big bull flag here, and then another one here, for this to make it back up to these sort of levels where we've got a lot of interest. It could happen, definitely, but at the moment, I'm playing the trend. We're definitely making lower lows through here and lower highs as well. So I think this one easily could come back down to here, even the 55 levels. We'll see how it plays out. But obviously on Litecoin, if we do break above these levels, I'm going to be bullish on it and be looking to get longs, because we could go through a markup, right? Quite easily. On ADA, back to ADA, we didn't put in that spring. We're actually creating a bit of a slanted gradient, right? So we're moving up, sort of creating the appearance, when you remove the wicks, of an ascending triangle sort of shape, right? So taking a look at that here, which is our schematic number 2, accumulative gradients of rising bottoms, right? So this is what we're sort of looking at here. And at the moment, we could be very easily coming back down here and putting in our LPS, which is last point of support, right? So we're coming through here, and we'll be looking for a bounce off here and a bounce off the top above here, and looking for this sideways movement above, which would be our sign of strength, right? So we've got a really nice volume pump through here, which isn't amazing. I mean, it's not like anything back here. But we haven't broken out yet. We're still in this accumulation sort of phase. So you could sort of liken to where we are at the moment to starting to pull up from the right shoulder. We haven't broken out yet, but we're in a pretty good little position right now. Other things that are showing us that we should have bullish momentum following through is we just got a really nice bull div on our RSI divergence, and also on our Nexus indicator, we've got a really nice strong bullish divergence there as well. So flat bottoms, maybe tiny, a little bit of a close below, and we've got a huge divergence here on our indicators, right? We also had a MACD cross a little while ago through the middle of our divergence as well. So this double bottom down here, right? So that's always a good sign. Doesn't mean we're going to break out the top, right? Easily can get rejected from this level up here again. This is going to be a strong level of resistance through here at 545. So I'm going to be looking for a daily close above 545 on ADA, right? So I want to see the daily come up, close above here, and then what we want to see is we put in a sign of strength, right? Which is just pretty much a bull flag, and then we can trade to get a position inside this bull flag above the previous range. So this is obviously a well-defined range, right? And now what we're looking for is a breakout above the range and then take off, right? Looking for a really nice retest. Sometimes they come up, they do these nice rounded retests and take off. Anything can really happen. But what we're looking for is a breakout with volume. So we want to see some nice big volume spikes, because generally if we get a breakout above here with low volume or more declining volume, we don't want to see this volume keep on going down while this breaks out, right? And that could be very good evidence this is actually going to be a distribution phase, a distribution pattern. And we're actually going to come back inside the trading range, which would be a really nice short from this point here. A retag of this level, I think would be a really good short. If we do have declining volume, we come back on the inside of the trading range. I think this area here would be a really good short. Looking for a breakdown back to the bottom of the range, and then possibly take profit there, and then another breakdown. A continuation to more lows, right? Which would be pretty sad for ADA, but anything could happen if Bitcoin starts to take off quite aggressively, which could happen. Anything happen around the halving with, especially with supply starting to dry up. I think a lot of people will stop selling their Bitcoin as well, moving into the halving, because they want to see what's going to happen. It could have some devastating effects on the alt market, alt BTC markets. So I think definitely probably the easier trades actually are going to be on the alt versus USD markets, right? This is Bitcoin dominance here. At the moment, we're coming up to a nice level of support. So we had a really nice tag here and tag here. And so we're coming back to this area here. And then we have the most outside trend line through here as well. We sort of are getting a bit of pressure downwards pushing from our 200 weekly MA as well, which is sort of similar sort of setup to what we had back at the start of 2019 till we finally broke away and Bitcoin went on its bull run, right? And this was a really good period for alts, right? So if this starts to get pushed down and we go 3-4 weeks into the middle of February before we tag this trend line here and start to move up, that could give a little window for maybe a little bit of an alt season. I won't say alt season, but we could get a little bit of a rally for altcoins because a lot of them had been going sideways. A few of them had really nice breakouts versus the US dollar, right? Which obviously gets helped by Bitcoin going in a big run, but some of these have been huge. So these have been pushing against Bitcoin as well, right? Litecoin USD had a pretty nice breakout as well. And they've all sort of been in these big falling wedge patterns or something similar. Because Bitcoin has been in a similar pattern as well. You know, Litecoin's like, 24% versus the dollar. I mean, it's not that amazing, to be honest, after this breakout. But from the lows, 51%, it's outperformed Bitcoin a little bit, which is obvious. Looking at the LTC BTC chart. Well, let's have a look at ADA USD and see if we can find much on that chart. So, I mean, it's sort of similar setup. We've had these big declining trend lines. We've had a nice breakout from there, right? Sort of falling wedge pattern in there. And so what we're looking for now is for this to continue flagging out, right? And then take off again, right? And we want to be taking out definitely these levels through here, right? And this is the current resistance level, right? So that's what we're sort of looking for. Take out this next resistance level here, which obviously versus Bitcoin will give us a nice breakout along here. And we could see ADA USD, which has been in a pretty nasty decline for some time, start to get a little bit of a push up. I don't really trade that many alts against USD, but I do think when Bitcoin is pushing really aggressively, if you do want to trade altcoins, I do think the easier trades are versus altcoin US dollar trades, not altcoin versus BTC, because as BTC pushes really strongly, you'll get a nice pullback on the altcoin, right? But on the USD pair, it will also push the pair as well, right? But then you have to watch out because when Bitcoin has a pullback, it will also pull back the alt pair as well. So there's something to the alt USD pair, which is something you need to be aware of when trading these altcoins. They can get quite volatile, especially against the US dollar. As we saw in Litecoin when it ran, 300, 400% into the halving last year, which is pretty nice. So this is what I'm looking for at the moment on altcoins and ADA specifically. There's a lot of sideways action throughout the Bitcoin pairs, and we could see this get pushed down a little bit further, maybe dump down to this trend line back here before we get a bit of a rally, and that could give it a little bit of life and breathing room to something like ADA, right? Not discounting the fact that it's going to end up coming back down here, right? So we're going to play this one safe, and we're going to be looking for a volume breakout and this to go into an SOS, which would be a bull flag like this, and then take off to the next area. The other thing I'm looking at as well is the trade that we just covered off a little bit just before, which was our Litecoin trade. Let's get that back up. Litecoin, BTC. I'll go over here. Right, this is our Litecoin BTC trade that currently in a short, and we're looking for this head and shoulders to play out, which is really evident on the 4 hour. So taking the first entry here, just on the top of the right shoulder, stop loss is above the previous highs because that's my invalidation point, right? This nice decent gap, and I'll be looking for this level here for my first target, and if we break that pretty easily, this will be the second target. If it starts to rebound and reverse off the previous range low through here, which could be a pretty solid level, and we start to head back up here, probably just take out the rest of the trade. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Bitcoin is looking pretty good still. Let's have a quick look. So this is my main chart for BTC. We played this really well We had a really nice run up from this level here, and then we broke out from the 7300 range and got back above the China cluster pump back here, which was pretty nice. And this ended up being a pretty good trade, about 20% from it, all in all. Now we've had this big Darth Maul on the daily. It looks pretty bearish looking at that. We do need to finish our swing down. So the stochastics RSI is a really good indicator to use when we're in a bull market, especially because things like your RSI indicator, for example, it just keeps on pushing higher and higher and higher and just get bear div, and you just have like all these little red tabs all throughout here. And same with things like Nexus, you know, just having a deep red entry here doesn't mean, you know, if the market's topped, we could easily come back down and then go back up again. And, you know, you get a double top or a bear div or something like that, but we go up to, you know, touch 9.6 and then get rejected from there, and you have a big bear div in there, right? So we don't want to miss that second move. You know, so for example, to reverse this downtrend, right, what actually happened was we had a huge daily bullish divergence, which we can see throughout here, right? So we're looking for something like that to reverse this trend. I don't think that just because we've got, you know, a couple of bear divs and this reversed here, it's game over. But we do need to see a close above this level here. We need to see a higher high on the weekly chart, right? The daily, we've been making higher highs because we broke this level here. So higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. We just need to come down and, you know, I think 8,200 down to 8,100 is a pretty good buy area for a reversal. Again, I do think that will probably clear out and then we could come back up again. If you're trading lower time frames at the moment, there is a gap on the CME market, not far above where we are right now. So let's go have a quick look at that. So this is the CME market just here, which actually does look a lot more bullish when you're excluding the weekend data because we don't have that huge Darth Maul through here. And we do have a bit of a gap through here. The other thing as well is there also is a tiny little gap, which is only a couple $100. We didn't quite fill 100% of it. So we could come back over the next 2 weeks or the daily resets. And if it does come back to here, I think that'll be a really nice entry on the gap fill around 7,600. At the moment though, there's a very high strike rate for CME gaps to fill within 4 days of them being put in. So usually it gets filled within 4 days, which I could easily see this popping back up to here, creating a lower high, and then we finish flushing out on the 4 hour and the daily, and we get our reset, right? So CME chart shows a pretty nice bearish divergence here, and then we obviously have that dump. We're probably going to need the 4 hour on our Nexus indicator to give us a full reset. So be looking to get longs in when we come down to the green band, and be looking for something like a bullish divergence or something like that on there. Stochastics RSI on the 4 hour is fully reset, which could give us our next rally soon up here, and then, you know, that could even create an inverse head and shoulder shape before we dump back down to close the gap back here, right? CME gaps don't always have to close, but usually they do. It's about 95% strike rate. You can get some data about those. There's a few different firms which have been writing some nice articles on that. I think there's a crypto market research. If you want to do some research into that on Google, you might be able to find it. But they've got a couple of good articles that are actually for free, and they go over the gap closes. And from memory, I'm pretty sure it said that 95% of gaps have closed, and very, very high percentage of those close within 4 days of them opening, right? So going to be looking for that to close up this week, and then we come back down over the next maybe week or two, close this gap, and then we continue heading up. Higher time frames, we're still looking very good. Daily's in a really solid uptrend. Weekly is not in a confirmed uptrend. We've made our low and we've had a nice push here. We need to get above this level here, which is a really strong order block. We need to get above 9,600 and reclaim that area, right? And then push up. I think that's definitely possible moving into the halving. What we do need to see is where we come back. Now I've made obviously our low. Now we've made a high. Now we need to make a lower high. Can't speak. We need to make a higher low. Always get dyslexic when I'm talking about these. We make a a higher low, right, which could then end up giving us sort of that inverse head and shoulders shape, which the measured move target for that move will actually be around 12,000 to 12,500, I believe. It depends where you put the breakout point, but the breakout point above 9,600 gives us, pretty much a perfect 12,500, right? So definitely going to be watching for that. And so another really important level is around that 7,800 area. And that's sort of the top of this order block as well, which has been pretty important. So definitely could see the gap getting filled, it's coming back down, getting a wick down to 7,700 and then launching back up to continue the uptrend, right? We've just pushed up quite nicely, having our swing high on our stochastics. One thing we do need to knock off for the bulls is getting above this 53 level, getting above this level through here, right, which has obviously been a strong level of support and resistance throughout our entire market cycle. So when we bounce off here, and if you go back to like BLX, something like that, you can see it goes back even further. But this level through here on our RSI indicator has been a strong level of support and resistance. So we're looking for that to break out, and we could even end up getting a bit of an inverse head and shoulders on our indicator as well, right, which would be pretty juicy, and it does something like this, right, and then we just end up getting stuck for the next year and a half, 2 years, like we did throughout this whole range above that 53 level, right? So that's what we're looking for on our RSI indicator for that to play out, because above that 53 level definitely is when the market starts to get exciting. If we look back throughout 2019, it was once we got above this level and pushed sideways and then pushed on, that's when the market started to get very, very bullish and quite aggressive, and we had a 166% push from that point onwards. So we've had really good volume here. This is on BitMEX, obviously. We've had really good volume, not the most volume in the past 12 months, but it's pretty good volume. The most we've had since October. So it's a good sign. Back-to-back weeks are both green. This week's probably going to be a little bit slower, bit of a pullback coming in, that's for sure. We might push up one more week and then pull back. Hard to say at the moment, but I do think really good areas to be buying from are 7,700 and also the bottom of this order block, which is about 8,200 down to about 8K, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's what I'm looking at the moment on the market. I think there's going to be a couple of good plays coming up on altcoins, so watching ADA and Litecoin at the moment as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you all in the next video.